There is a kind of power that never raises its voice. Most people think power looks like control, controlling a room, controlling other people, controlling the outcome. But there is an older, quieter kind of power that almost nobody talks about. It is the power of never being read. Think about the last time someone knew exactly how to upset you. They didn't guess. They had studied you, your triggers, your patterns, your weak points, long before that moment arrived. And once someone can predict you, they can move you. Like a piece on a board. Machiavelli understood something most people never learn in a lifetime. The person who cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. And the person who cannot be controlled becomes, quietly, dangerous. This video is not about becoming cold or cruel. It's about 7 silent laws, habits of mind that make you harder to read, harder to shake, and harder to defeat. By the end, you'll understand why the calmest person in the room is usually the most powerful one in it. Before we start, drop this in the comments, I stay unreadable. Let's begin. Most people live with their emotions on the outside. Every insult shows on their face. Every setback shows in their posture. Every small victory gets announced before it's even secured. This isn't weakness exactly, it's exposure. And exposure has a cost. Because the moment your reactions become predictable, other people learn how to use them against you. A single comment can ruin your morning. A single delay can end your motivation. A single rejection can convince you to quit something you'd worked on for years. Machiavelli spent his life studying rulers who rose and rulers who fell, and he noticed the same pattern again and again. The ones who fell weren't always weaker. They were simply easier to read. Their fear showed. Their ambition showed. Their next move could be guessed 3 steps ahead. The ones who lasted had learned something the others hadn't. Composure isn't the absence of emotion. It's the refusal to broadcast it. That is the foundation of everything that follows. 7 laws. Not tricks, not manipulation, a discipline of the self so complete that the outside world stops being able to predict you, and therefore stops being able to control you. Here's what makes this hard. Everything around you rewards the opposite. Social media rewards instant reaction. Arguments reward the loudest voice. Even friendships sometimes reward the person who overshares first. So learning to hold something back, a reaction, an explanation, an ambition, will feel, at first, like you're losing something. You're not. You're simply moving what used to be public into a place only you control. Give it time. Every law on this list feels unnatural for the first few weeks and becomes armor after that. The first law is this: silence is not empty. Silence is a decision. Most people rush to fill quiet moments. A pause in conversation feels uncomfortable, so they speak just to end it, and often say more than they meant to. Machiavelli knew that the person who speaks first in a tense moment usually reveals the most, and reveals it for free. Picture a locksmith working on a stubborn old lock. He doesn't force the mechanism or hammer at it in frustration. He listens, turns the pick slightly, waits, feels for the smallest give. The lock opens not because he pushed harder, but because he was patient enough to listen for what it needed. There's an old line worth remembering: the mouth that stays shut catches no flies, but it also gives away no secrets. When you let silence sit a little longer than feels comfortable, you're not being weak. You're gathering information while everyone else is giving theirs away. The next time you feel the urge to fill a silence just to relieve the tension, resist it. Let the other person feel the discomfort first. What they say next will tell you more than anything you could have said yourself. This applies far beyond negotiations. In arguments, the person who waits often wins simply because they haven't said anything they'll have to walk back later. In job interviews, the candidate who pauses to think before answering usually seems more capable than the one who fills every gap with noise. Silence, used deliberately, is one of the few tools that costs nothing and reveals everything about the person too impatient to use it. Drop this below: I let silence work for me. The second law is one of the hardest to practice, because it goes against everything we're taught about being liked. You do not owe everyone an explanation. Every time you justify a choice to someone who has no real stake in it, you hand them a thread they can pull on. You invite debate where none was needed. Machiavelli believed a decision announced with confidence and no apology carries far more weight than one defended for 10 minutes. Think of a chess player who, after making a strong move, starts explaining to their opponent exactly why they made it. That explanation is a gift. It hands the opponent your reasoning, your plan, your next 3 moves. The strongest players simply move the piece and let the board speak. There's a saying among old traders, the fish that explains why it's swimming away is the one that gets caught. This doesn't mean becoming secretive or cold with people who genuinely deserve honesty, your family, your close few, the people who've earned it. It means you stop auto-justifying yourself to everyone with an opinion. Make the decision. Let it stand on its own. People respect what they cannot argue with. Drop this below. My choices don't need permission. The third law, attention is the price of trust, and most people give trust before they've paid it. We want to believe people quickly because believing is easier than watching. But Machiavelli's entire philosophy rests on one uncomfortable truth. People show you who they are through patterns, not promises. Imagine a farmer inspecting land before planting. He doesn't trust the soil because it looks green on the surface. He tests it, checks how it drains after rain, how it holds up across more than one season. One good season tells him nothing. 3 seasons tell him everything. An old proverb says it plainly, watch how a man treats those who can do nothing for him, that is who he really is. This law isn't about becoming suspicious of everyone. It's about slowing down the speed at which you hand out your trust. Watch consistency, not charm. Watch what someone does when there's nothing in it for them. People will tell you who they are, but only if you're patient enough to watch instead of hope. Drop this below. I watch before I trust. The fourth law, not every goal needs an audience. There's a modern habit of announcing every plan the moment it forms, the new business, the new body, the new discipline. It feels like commitment, but Machiavelli would have called it a leak, because the moment you announce a goal, you get a small hit of the same social reward you would have gotten from actually achieving it. The mind, satisfied early, quietly loses some of its drive to finish the real thing. Think of a falcon before it dives. It doesn't circle the field announcing its target to every bird below. It watches in complete silence, and the first sign anyone gets of its intention is the result. There's an old line worth keeping close. The arrow that is seen can be dodged. This doesn't mean isolating yourself or hiding your whole life. It means choosing one ambition, the one that matters most right now, and protecting it from outside noise until it's strong enough to survive criticism, doubt, or other people's opinions. Let the result speak. Let the announcement be the finished thing. Notice how this changes your relationship with the goal itself. When no one is watching and no one is waiting for updates, you're no longer performing effort. You're actually building something. The work becomes quieter, steadier, and strangely more enjoyable because it belongs entirely to you until the day you choose to reveal it. Drop this below. My plans stay mine until they're real. The fifth law, criticism only wounds the person who hasn't decided what they think of themselves yet. When you don't have a settled sense of your own direction, every comment becomes a verdict. Someone doubts you, and suddenly you doubt yourself. Machiavelli's rulers who lasted longest weren't the ones who avoided criticism. None of them did. They were the ones who had learned to sort it, coldly, like a merchant sorting coins from counterfeit. Picture a lighthouse standing through a storm. It doesn't argue with the waves. It doesn't take the wind personally. It simply keeps its light steady, because its purpose was decided long before the storm arrived. An old saying puts it simply, not every stone thrown at you is meant to build something. Some are only meant to see if you'll flinch. The next time criticism comes your way, ask one quiet question before reacting. Is there something useful in this, or is this simply noise? Keep the useful part. Let the rest pass through you without landing. A person who can do this consistently becomes very difficult to hurt. and even harder to control. Drop this below. Criticism informs me, it doesn't define me. The sixth law, the fastest way to make a mistake is to make a decision while the pressure is highest. Under stress, the mind narrows. It reaches for whatever feels like relief, not whatever is actually wise. Machiavelli warned that leaders who acted in the heat of fear made decisions that outlived the fear itself, and rarely for the better. Picture a glacier moving across a valley. It is unstoppable, but it is never rushed. It reshapes entire landscapes not through speed but through relentless, patient pressure applied over time. Nothing hurries a glacier, and nothing stops one either. There's an old warning worth remembering. Decisions made in a hurry are usually undone slowly, and at a much higher cost. This doesn't mean becoming passive or indecisive. It means building in one deliberate pause before any high-stakes decision. Even just overnight. Ask what you would decide if the pressure disappeared tomorrow. That answer, almost always, is the wiser one. Some of the worst regrets people carry didn't come from a lack of intelligence. They came from a good mind making a fast decision under bad conditions. Protect your future decisions by refusing to make the important ones while your hands are still shaking. Drop this below. I move at my own pace, not panic's pace. The seventh and final law, the strongest reputation is the one that doesn't need constant protection. People who are always defending their image are, in a strange way, always advertising their insecurity about it. Machiavelli believed a reputation built on consistent action over years needs no bodyguard. It simply stands, the way a well-built wall stands, without needing to announce that it's strong. Think of an old stone fortress that has survived 100 years of weather. No one has to convince you it's solid. You can see it in the way it has already withstood everything thrown at it. An old line says it best, character is the only reputation that doesn't need a witness. Build your name the same way, through what you consistently do, not what you consistently say about yourself. Over years, this becomes a kind of armor. People may misunderstand you occasionally. They may misjudge a single moment. But a reputation built slowly, on real evidence, survives what a reputation built on words cannot. Drop this below. My actions are my defense. 7 silent laws. None of them loud. None of them dependent on anyone else changing. Let silence do the negotiating. Stop explaining decisions you don't owe. Study people before you trust them. Keep one ambition private. Turn criticism into information. Move slowly under pressure. Build a reputation that defends itself. None of these make you cold. They make you difficult to move. And a person who cannot be easily moved becomes, over time, someone others quietly learn to respect, even if they can never quite predict them. You won't master all 7 at once, and you don't need to. Pick the one law from this list that felt the most uncomfortable to hear. That discomfort is usually pointing directly at the habit costing you the most power right now. Start there. The rest will follow once the first one becomes second nature. If this gave you something to think about, that's exactly what it's for. Hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more on Machiavellian psychology and the quiet disciplines that build real strength. One last thing before you go. Power that has to explain itself has usually already lost some of its weight. The kind that lasts doesn't ask to be believed. It's simply observed, over time, by people who eventually stop testing it. Drop this final affirmation below. I don't need to be understood to be respected. If this gave you something to think about, that's exactly what it's for. Hit like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more on Machiavellian psychology and the quiet disciplines that build real strength. One last thing before you go. Power that has to explain itself has usually already lost some of its weight. The kind that lasts doesn't ask to be believed. It's simply observed, over time, by people who eventually stop testing it. Drop this final affirmation below. I don't need to be understood to be respected.